Yeah, now I think it's okay.
Yes, you're fine, right?
Yes, better now.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Um, yeah, I'm welcome. Alan Bitar is the next speaker. He's a Microsoft 365 consultant and architect. He's from Switzerland. He's going to talk about adaptive cards to with SharePoint list and Power Platforms. That's Power Apps and Power Automate to onboarding. How to make the onboarding process. That's something like a use case process. That's a really good session. Um, I'm take over to Alan. Over to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just share my screen and just
Yeah.
tell me
Thank
guys
you.
when you see my screen.
Yes, Alan.
Okay, good. So let's start.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, thank you very much for having me today in this great event. I've been attending like the couple of sessions before me, and they are really, really great sessions. And as expected, the sessions that are coming after are really, really good. So really, really stay tuned and let's go. So just to present myself, my name is Alaa Bitar. Sorry, guilty as charged, but since 2007, approximately, I'm a SharePoint addict. I basically use my skills to help business customer to automate any kind of business process that they have, so that they really can focus on their expertise. You can follow me on LinkedIn. I have a channel on YouTube, my blog, and my GitHub in order to follow the different activity that I do. And of course, we have to thank the sponsors for today's session. So please go talk to them and see what they do. Okay, so let's jump into the subject of our session today. So it's like a cooking recipe, but adapted to information system. So basically, our ingredients will be adaptive cards, will be SharePoint list, will be Power Automate, will be Power Apps, and everything mixed together with the right the right level of for each ingredient. We will cook like something an onboarding process. Before we jump in, today we will use adaptive card, SharePoint list, Power Automate, Power Apps in order to automate something. So today, the demo and the proof of concept that we will see together is going to equal the an onboarding process. But basically, we at the end of this session, you could really like automate whatever business process that you or your customer want to automate using those four those four ingredients. So just as an agenda, we will see and talk about in general what is an onboarding process, because at the end, I think every company has an onboarding process, but every company has also its own way of onboarding new employee. So we will just like briefly talk about the onboarding process in general, what it is made of, and so on and so forth. Then we will have a look on the different Office 365 tools that we have. Using those tools, putting them together in a right way, making them like communicating with each other, we can like come up with a solution, an architecture for the solution to answer a specific business process. That is today's business process, is the onboarding process. And then, of course, I think everyone waits for it. We will do a demo, and depending on the time, we will go deeper or not. But I think we will have quite of time to go a little bit deeper in the demo today. So basically, what's going on when we say onboarding process? So basically, if we want to think about it, it's divided in two things that we have to do before the new collaborator arrives, and the things we have to do when the collaborator arrives. So basically, we have like these two main kind of things to do. One, the things that we have to do before the collaborator arrives, and the things we have to do when the collaborator arrives, like it's the first day. Just a quick remark here in today's session. When we say onboarding process, we start from the point from where the employee signed the contract. So we would not go through the candidature, sending CV, and so on and so forth. For us, the onboarding process starts when the collaborator and the company reached a consensus, and the collaborator and the company signed the contract, and it's this is our kind of starting point from the onboarding process. So if we think about it, before a new collaborator arrives, for example, we have to order some hardware, a PC, a screen, mouse, I don't know, print a parking card for him to access the part of the parking company, order from him, or no, not order from, but set the level of permission to access this room or this room or this room. You know, we can, for example, we have to create an Office 365 account for this new collaborator and set the right, and make him join the right different groups, and so on and so forth. So those are, and I'm sure we can think of hundreds and hundreds different actions that we can do before the new collaborator arrives. So I just want you now to begin a bit of thinking of all the different things that somehow a company has to do before a new collaborator arrives. Just write them down or pick them in your head if you want. Now, when the new collaborator arrives, for example, so it's his first day or something like that, we have, for example, to sign documents, to assign him different training, to I don't know. Again, you can think of many different. I think someone has left his microphone on. I don't know who is it, but please, if you just thank you. So just saying that when the new collaborator arrives, you have to sign to do different kind of tasks, you know. So again, please just think about some different tasks that a new collaborator has to do, or as a company you have to do and to automate as well before the on the day of the when the collaborator arrives. So let's have a look now on the different Office 365 tools that we have in order to maybe somehow answer this kind of or automate this kind of business tasks. Adaptive cards. So I'm sure, I think everyone here have heard about adaptive cards, maybe have used them or so on. But just to sum up, and so that everyone is on the same kind of level of knowledge here, adaptive cards basically are XML form kind of definition that you can put together and then be able to send it as email, as chat team, as you can embed it in a website, for example. So in order to play with adaptive cards, there's this great site called adaptivecards.io/designer, where you just go to it and play with the different type of fields. So basically you can create forms using adaptive cards and have some buttons, some drop-down field, input box, date picker, you name it, and then directly from this site you are able to get the definition of the adaptive card and to use it then in your development. What we have and what we really have, we want to focus maybe a little bit now is something called Outlook actionable message. Basically, it is an adaptive card that you can send through email, and the Outlook client can interpret the content of this adaptive card and display a form. So using adaptive cards, we are able to create custom email embedded forms. So again, please just start to think about it. At the end of the session, we want to answer a business process. We want to automate an onboarding process. So using adaptive cards, if you think about it, we are able to embed forms, and to send them in an email. So just keep this in mind when we go a bit further. If we think about it, we can have like one adaptive card per task. At the end, when we say a task, for example, if we just go back a little bit, create an Office 365 account. So if I want to automate a bit the creation of the Office 365 account, what do I really need? If I like transpose it in a form, what do I need in order to automate this? And I will need to create an Office 365 account. For example, I will need I don't know, the first name, the last name, and the department of the new employee. So if I can create an adaptive card for this task, I can somehow begin at least to automate. And this is what I want you to think about it and to visualize a bit in your mind. Using adaptive cards, also we can have button, and this button can trigger an HTTP post to a specific URL. So again, we can have one adaptive card that is responsible for at the end gathering some different kind of information: a first name, a last name, a department, if this person like works 100% or 80% or something like that. And then we can have a button that will trigger an HTTP, that will do an HTTP post on a specific URL. Again, brainstorm a bit, think about it, and we will see how we can like use this these features in the adaptive cards in order to answer and to fulfill our business process. Now, of course, I think already everyone knows PowerAutomate is the workflow engine in Office 365. We have different way of triggering a PowerAutomate workflow, but what will be useful to us is that we can have a PowerAutomate workflow that is HTTP triggered. So we can create a workflow, a PowerAutomate workflow that will be triggered when we call an HTTP. So if we think about it, we have in an adaptive card, we have a button that triggers an HTTP post that basically could trigger a PowerAutomate workflow. So this PowerAutomate will receive the information from the adaptive card, because the button, when I will click, when I submit the button, it will send the content of my adaptive card to a PowerAutomate workflow. So the HTTP triggered workflow will receive the information sent by the adaptive cards, and because it's done, we are in PowerAutomate, we are in the Office 365 environment. Before, the adaptive card in the Outlook, we are not sure where we are. We could be outside of Office 365, but from now, from the moment when the HTTP triggered flow has been triggered, when the HTTP triggered workflow PowerAutomate has been triggered, I'm sure I am in Office 365, and so I can read information that was sent from the adaptive cards and then maybe update a SharePoint list. For example, I update the SharePoint list. So I set like a different status. I fill in this SharePoint list. In this SharePoint list item, I can fill the information that were sent by the adaptive card, and then I can have another PowerAutomate workflow that is triggered every time a specific SharePoint list is modified. So basically, we can have like those two kind of PowerAutomate workflow. One that is triggered when the HTTP one PowerAutomate workflow that is HTTP triggered. The HTTP triggered workflow will update a specific SharePoint list item, and then another workflow will be triggered whenever I update this SharePoint list item. SharePoint list. Inside of SharePoint list, what we can do? So we can, because the purpose here is to put in place a structure, a development that will be easy to use for our customers. So we're not going to say to our customer, come on guys, this is the this one, the adaptive card.io/designer. Go to this site, create your own adaptive cards, and put them in a SharePoint list. No, it's not a good way. Or we could do, but I think it's not a good way to sell a product. So we can create the different type of adaptive cards, different type of forms that are at the end, at some point, will answer a specific task. So I can have a SharePoint list called the adaptive card definition.
Mana?
Sorry. Someone has
कि आपने शेयर नहीं की है
the microphone.
Please don't enable your always in mute. Okay. Alaa, I think it's now fine. Alaa, I think you were in the mute.
You have been muted too, so please unmute yourself first.
I make everyone, I think so. Yeah. Yeah, unmute.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, fine.
No. Don't worry. Oops. Sorry. Up. I don't know if there are some questions now or continue.
I think they joined again. That's the reason they unmute, not muted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I was saying that we can like create in a SharePoint list different definition for adaptive cards. So we can have like this pool of available adaptive cards. Basically, it's a SharePoint list. So I have a title and I have a SharePoint, an adaptive card definition. So I have this pool of available adaptive cards, and I can have like another SharePoint list called onboarding process task that would list the different tasks that I have to do in order to fulfill my onboarding process. But please, guys, what I really want you to think is maybe a bit out of the box. We are maybe focusing now today on onboarding process, but basically, if you think about it, we can automate any kind of process. So it's basically creating different tasks that, for example, each task will have a custodian, one or two more custodians. So I have a SharePoint list called onboarding tasks. Will have like a title, a custodian, and a corresponding adaptive cards. So I will create this. I will fill this onboarding process task SharePoint list with the different tasks, and each task is have a title, has a specific custodian, and the corresponding adaptive card. And then I can have like onboarding process manager, orchestrator, whatever you can name it, in order to trigger the onboarding process, the onboarding different tasks, and using the the two, if we go back, the on SharePoint list modified triggered workflow, I can like update the status of the process. I can, using this this SharePoint list, I can like look up what is the next task, and so on and so forth, and assign the corresponding task to the custodian using the adaptive card. Last but not least, at the end, okay, this is cool, this is nice, but it's a bit, there are no visual interface at that time. So we can use PowerApp, you can use you can create an STFX web part, whatever. But today, today's topic, we will use a PowerApp application to trigger the process, to trigger the onboarding process, and to be able also from this application to visualize the status of my onboarding tasks, where in which status is it, what the different tasks that have been done, and so on and so forth. And for example, if the day of the day of the collaborator, when the collaborator comes, for example, to the office, it is his or her first day, and he doesn't have like a computer, so I can quickly go to the PowerApp and visualize the status. The status is still pending. The creation of the office of this Office 365 account, for example, is still pending. Who is the responsible? Who is the custodian for this task? Can directly like engage a conversation with this person. So, if we gather everything that we have said in the past around 20 minutes, 25 minutes, I think, we can come up with a solution architecture. So we are here. We are the person who wants to trigger the onboarding process. So we are here. So we use a PowerApp in order to trigger the onboarding process. So we are here in the first, the number one. The PowerApp, what is going to do? What the PowerApp is going to do is going to basically update an onboarding event list. This onboarding event list will trigger our first PowerAutomate workflow called onboarding orchestrator, that is triggered whenever my onboarding event list gets modified. Sorry, again, please, the microphone. I have been muted. No, c'est bon.
Yeah.
Okay. That's okay, don't worry. Okay, so this is my first onboarding process, my first, PowerAutomate workflow that is triggered whenever I update my onboarding event list. The onboarding event orchestrator will read the different information from this onboarding event SharePoint list, and then get the corresponding adaptive card for this specific task. So this is number 4, and it will send the an adaptive card in an email to a specific person, to the specific custodian of the corresponding task. Outlook will interpret the adaptive card and will display a form, for example. And from this email, so our custodian won't leave the email, and this is really important to be able to create business process or to automate business process or to provide solution for our customers or for your own company in a way that it is very simple and easy to use for them. So as much as possible, if you make your customers stay as much as possible in the same environment and not telling them that, oh, sometimes you have to go to SharePoint and then you have to go to Teams, and then you have to go to your email and so on, and going back and forth, and now, it's not possible, you have to go back again in SharePoint. So using this kind of solution, because there are many different ways, many different kind of way in order to automate something, but using really this technique really make the co-student, the one who is responsible for a specific task, really focus on what he's doing. So directly from Outlook, he will fill the form and click a submit button. And if we just go back a bit, and we remember that an adaptive card have a button that triggers an HTTP post. If we go to back to here, so he will click submit button, and the button will trigger another workflow that is HTTP triggered, and it's called, I've called it the adaptive card response handler. Take the content of the adaptive card and be able to update again the onboarding events. Now, if we think about it, how we are going to make this happen? I'm submitting an adaptive card with different fields. How I will be able to tell my PowerAutomate workflow to update a specific onboarding event, SharePoint list item, and not any list item, but the list item that triggered the first workflow, the onboarding orchestrator workflow. So here's the trick: is how we can make 5 and 6 work together. I leave you just a couple of seconds to think about it. Maybe you will come up with a better solution than the solution that I'm going to show you. So take a couple of seconds, think about it, how we can link the number 5 and number 6, how we can make the response from an adaptive card update a specific SharePoint list item, and not a very specific one, the same one that was triggered by the onboarding orchestrator flow. So without further ado, let's go and see what can we do. So we have to link the adaptive card somehow and the SharePoint list. What we can do is at the end, if we go back a bit, the button that sends the HTTP trigger, that sends the HTTP post, take the content of the adaptive card, take the different fields, and call a URL with a post method. But what if we inject a custom tag in this adaptive card that we will replace before sending the adaptive card? So what I mean is, for example, this is the a form for filling new employee information can look like. So you have the title, a logo for the company, and 3 different fields: first name, last name, and department. And we have the submit button. And now, if we just focus more on the submit button, so basically in the adaptive card where a button is of type action set, and in the action property, you define what the button will do. So it will do an HTTP. It will the label will be submit. It will trigger a post method, and the body. In the body, it is the content that the HTTP post will have when it's triggered. So here we are saying that in the body I will have a first name, a last name, and a department, and the value will be txt first name, txt first name value, txt last name value, and the department value. Those are the idea in the adaptive card definition. Those are the idea of the different fields here. So this input box here, first name input box, the ID is txt first name. So when you do txt first name dot value, it will take the value of the field and put it in the first name property. And what I'm doing here is I manually added a property called item ID that is equal to hashtag current item dot ID hashtag. This is completely arbitrary. You can put whatever you want. You just have to then link this custom tag to what we're going to replace in the flow, and then the URL. What's the URL that will be called for by the submit button. So if you have a look now, this is part of the adaptive card response handler flow. So we do many things before, but at some point, in order to send the adaptive card, what we do is, okay, we send an email to the current custodian of the task with the title of the workflow, the process and the title of the current task. We send the description and just a little remark here. In order to send an adaptive card by email, you have to put the content of the adaptive card inside those script type application adaptive card description tags. And here's the trick. I get the definition from of the adaptive card, and then I replace this my custom tag, the hashtag current item .id hashtag by the ID of the item that triggered the flow. So back to our architecture here, I had a PowerApp that created, for example, an item on an onboarding event list that triggered the an onboarding orchestrator, and the onboarding orchestrator sent an adaptive card. And before sending the adaptive card, it replaced my custom tag by the item ID that triggered the flow. The trigger body that ID is the item ID of the SharePoint list that triggered the flow, and at the end I put like any other information needed. If we go back just here, oops, if we go JavaScript, when I will click on the submit button, I will send the value of the text, the first name, the value of the last name, the value of the department, plus the item ID of the SharePoint list that triggered the flow. So here it is the second PowerAutomate workflow that is going to trigger. What I know, because here this part from first name till the department value, I don't know what it could be, because this will be specific to every adaptive card. So here we took the example of sending those 3 different values, but at some point I don't really know what are the different values that could be sent. I could, because at the end I'm writing the definition of each adaptive card, but in order to make the process as dynamic as possible, let's take into consideration that we don't really know what's the content of this part, everything that is before item ID. But what I know is that every adaptive card that I define have this item ID property. So here, when I receive the HTTP call, I know that I can parse the body of the response with at least this item ID property. And I know this item ID property corresponds to the ID of the list item that I want to update. So I can go then and update a specific SharePoint list item with the ID that I got from the body of the HTTP call. And then the other information that was present in adaptive card, I can just put it in a field called info needed to be able to process it and display it to the end user. Now let's go to the demo part, and let me show you a bit like all those different components. Is there any question? Okay, we will see if there's questions.
I don't see any questions for now, but okay. I do have one for you.
Yeah,
maybe you can answer it at a later stage, not now. But you know, in simple adaptive cards where I want an approve and a reject button, I want my comments to be mandatory for reject button. Is that something that is possible today?
Let me think. Yes, we can make a field required in an adaptive card, but yeah, we cannot do a conditions. No.
Yeah,
we cannot do a condition. Yeah, for now
conditional validation is not available. Normal validation is available. Okay.
Yeah. Right. Let's go to the demo. Everything is still everyone. Sorry, still seeing my screen.
Yes.
Okay, great. So let's go first the SharePoint site. So here I have first. I'm going to show you the adaptive card SharePoint list. So this is the SharePoint list where I create. This is my pool of available adaptive cards. So basically, I just created two different kind of adaptive cards. One called Office 365 account creation form, and another one called done form. So this one is the one that I showed you earlier in the PowerPoint presentation. If we go, just have a look on the definition of the adaptive card. So okay, this is the image, this is the different container, and you can see, like for example, I have this label called first name, and another input field, and its ID is txt.firstname. It's the same thing for last name and for the department. The only difference is that the department is a drop-down list, so it is an input choice set. And here we have our button that send as a body the first name, the last name, the department, and here it is where I put my item ID hashtag current item .id special tag field. And the other one is just a very, very simple form. It's just to show a button called done, and then update just a specific the specific item ID field. So this is the bunch of available adaptive cards that I have. Then the onboarding task list. Here is where I define the different tasks in order to fulfill my onboarding process. So I have two tasks. One is fill the employee information, and the other one is to create an Office 365 account for this employee. And as you can see, each task has a corresponding custodian, a description, and a corresponding adaptive card as well. And in order to be able to have this kind of loop, in order to go from one task to another, I've added a column called next task ID. And when a task is done, the flow will look will read the next task ID field, and will get the item ID that has this next ID task in order to loop through all the different tasks. And when we hit a task that doesn't have a next task ID, we assume that the process is done. And then I have my onboarding events list. It is like the orchestrator for my flow. It is the list where I have the onboarding event orchestrator flow. If we look at it, it is the one that is triggered whenever an item is created or modified in this onboarding event list. So basically, this list is the trigger for my flow. We will see it deeper in a bit. And then we have my PowerApp application that will trigger the workflow. From this PowerApp, I will be able to trigger the workflow and to be able, and also to see the different requests. So let's do. Let's trigger a workflow. So the title is new employee Bitar. No special info needed, and the comments say please fill the corresponding information. Okay, and I hit the submit button. Oh, before I hit the submit button, I'm going to show you what this submit button do. So basically, I'm submitting the form. So this is form 1. I'm just calling the submit function on this form, and this form is the form component that is binded to my onboarding event list. So every time I submit, I will create an item because I said that the default mode of my form is new. So every time I submit, it's gonna create an item. So if we go back to the submit button, and the submit form function like returns true or false. If everything went well, it will put in my onboarding success variable, it will be true. So if onboarding success, I will, what I'm doing is I just setting the default selected tab item to the ID number 2, because what I want to do is when I submit, I want to automatically select this onboarding task request tab. So what I have done in order to do that is the tabs are just a gallery, and the different items I've initialized them in the onStart property of my application. And basically this is a collection that is made of two items, and each item has a title and an ID property. And I'm setting the default tab item to the first item of my collection. So whenever I will hit the submit button, I will do a lookup to the item that has ID equals 2 and set it as the default tab item. And again, I'll just put the form to on the new form mode. So it will stay like this, and it will not like try to update an item on the next move. So let's hit the submit button. So I'm submitting the item, and now I see like I was redirected somehow on to the onboarding request tab item, and I see that I have this new item called new employee Alaa Bitar, and the status is to trigger. And for now, I only have like this comment: please fill the corresponding blah 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 information. But for now, everything else is blank. Before I refresh the item list, let's see. Good. I see that my onboarding event orchestrator flow has been triggered 4 seconds ago. Succeeded.
Yeah.
If we
Alaa, for your notification, 5 minutes to.
Yeah.
No problem.
A boost. Yeah. Okay. So basically, what's done here is the flow was triggered, and I received an email. Cool. And basically, here is the switch on the status of the item, and the first status is case to trigger. So I get the first task corresponding to my flow. And I'm just updating the first task. So the same item that triggered the flow, I'm just flipping it to the pending status. So again, the flow is going to trigger again, 38 seconds ago. And now what it's going to do is going in the case pending, it will here get the corresponding adaptive card from the current task. Here I'm just making some condition in order to avoid some null fields or empty fields. But what is important is here the send email. What I'm doing is I sending an email to the corresponding custodian with the subject and the description. And here is the corresponding adaptive card. And if we look at the end, oops, sorry. If we look at the end somehow, yeah, here we see that item ID has been replaced by the corresponding item ID of the item that triggered the flow. So that's why I received now here an adaptive card telling me, please fill the new employee information. So here I'm going to say it's Alaa, Bitar, and it works in IT. And I'm hitting the submit button. The submit button now is going to call the adaptive card response handler. So, okay, before showing you the adaptive card response handler here, if I refresh my SharePoint list item, I can see that the status is done, the current from the current custodian, and the current task is fill new employee information. So I know that this current task, fill new employee information, has been done by Alaa Bitar, and this is all the information that the adaptive card received. This is a proof of concept. This is a demo. Of course, in production mode, you will have to do something to interpret this this information to be more human readable. But for now, I'm just putting the JSON that I received. So, Chuk, HTTP, the card response handler read the content, got the item ID 14. So that's why I here took up the update item, updated the item ID that was item ID 14, and in the done and this I put the status done. So in my onboarding event orchestrator, every time that I go to the case done, here I'm just seeing if there is another task ID from this task. If yes, go and update the current task to pending with the next task ID, or update it to finish. Because if the current task doesn't have next task ID, it will just change the status to finish, and the process is done. But now I've updated the status to pending, so the flow triggered again to the case pending mode, and again it got the adaptive card and sent the corresponding flow. So the corresponding adaptive card. So basically, this please fill the information provided and create an Office 365 account. So again, here I'm just displaying the JSON that the adaptive card received, and this adaptive card just show a done button. So I hit the done button, and then if I go and refresh here, I see that the current task, create an Office 365, is done, and now my orchestrator workflow is going to be triggered again, and it will see that there is no next ID current task, and it will update the status to finish after some point. And that's it. Sorry, guys. I think it took a bit too long. So I hope you liked the demo. And thank you for having me. Thank you for attending the session. And if you have any question, free. I'm available to answer.